I wanted to ask you real quick, just because I know I haven't had a chance to catch up with you on this, and this is something that just kind of stuck out to me when it happened. Golovkin's trainer, Abel Sanchez, when they were promoting the Canelo fight, when they were supposed to fight Canelo, there was some back and forth going on, and Abel basically said that Canelo ran like Floyd Mayweather in their first fight. I guess what he was trying to say is that he didn't fight the Mexican style that they like to promote, as far as Triple G is concerned. So, he called him a runner. So when a group of reporters asked him to kind of explain that, he made the comment that, black fighters don't fight in a style that's pleasing to fans, so they don't sell tickets. Don't know if you had a chance to hear that. I'm guessing maybe. I know it's been a while. I'm guessing maybe you did hear that. But I was just kind of wondering what your thoughts on that statement as far as Abel Sanchez is concerned.
First and foremost, it's an ignorant comment. And secondly, it's a dangerous comment. And I say it's ignorant because a lot of the sport of boxing was built on the backs of African-American fighters, Ray Robinson, Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali. The list goes on and on. Guys who can fight and box. And all of us, including Abel Sanchez and his fighter, are benefiting from that today. And there's fighters today who are selling tickets who are African-American. And I don't know any fighter who, African-American or not, who doesn't have a country behind them, Mexico, Philippines, something like that, who are selling out arenas no matter where they go. If you look at, Terrence Crawford can do 10,000 plus in Omaha, Nebraska, any day of the week. That's a fact. And, if you even look at Golovkin, Golovkin's not just representing Kazakhstan. He'll wear that robe to the ring, but if you really look at it, Golovkin and his team had to appropriate a whole nother culture to sell tickets. And with Mexican style, Golovkin is not Mexican. if people didn't know, and it worked for them. But at the end of the day, African American fighters, A, don't have that luxury, and B, that's not something that we're trying to do. So, we got to get it how we get it, and that's that. But no, that's the ignorant side of it. The dangerous side of it is, there's a crop of guys now, and there's a lot of young guys coming behind me and coming behind this generation, and it's not okay to put that kind of thing out and not have it be addressed, because these young fighters are going to have to fight through those stereotypes and those narratives and those ignorant kind of comments. I've had to fight through them. Roy's had to fight through them. Bernard has had to fight through them. Floyd has had to fight through them. And, it's that kind of stuff needs to be addressed head on.
Why do you think Abel would make a statement like that, though, Dre? I don't. If you look at numbers in the past, even if you look at numbers today, black fighters do well at the box office. Floyd Mayweather is the perfect example. So why exactly would he even say something like that?
I think if you look at the context of the comment, it was made at the press conference to promote his fight with Canelo. And he made the comment about Canelo's style. The times that Canelo boxed in the fight with Golovkin, he gave Golovkin the most trouble. Golovkin is 36 or 37, I'm not sure which one it is, and he's been in a lot of wars, and they're starting to show. And he's got old legs. So he's doing what a coach is supposed to do. He's trying to get Canelo, or at that time before the controversy happened, he was trying to get Canelo, he was trying to bait Canelo. And that's the oldest trick in the book. If I know that my guy can't handle a certain style, I got to try to bait the other fighter to get him in position where my guy can be most successful. And that's what he was trying to do. My thing is, if you want to promote your fights, by all means, but just don't use us to do it. You know, and on top of that, Ben, you know, it's a situation where, you know, Abel should really, you know, show the respect that Floyd Mayweather deserves as a fighter. He should really, you know, keep Floyd's name out of his mouth, because Floyd is not just a legend, but he's a living legend. And it's going to be really hard to do what Floyd has done from a career achievement standpoint, coming all the way up from 130 pounds all the way to 154 when Floyd for many years really had a, you know, really wasn't even a full-fledged welterweight. And then we're not even talking box office. Like, he's exceeded everything heavyweights have done. So, and if I'm not mistaken, some of the writers that are out there, and even Golovkin's team, Tom Laughlin, tried to use Floyd Mayweather's name for many years to try to promote Golovkin, knowing that Floyd Mayweather was a small welterweight. They tried to connect Golovkin's name with Floyd and basically send out this message to casual fans, because hardcore fans, they knew better. But the casual fans, they tried to tell them that, oh, this is the only man you know, this man, Floyd Mayweather, is afraid to fight Gennady Golovkin. And again, hardcore fans knew better than that. You know, that's not even something that should have been even looked at. That's not even something that should have been talked about. But they can get away with that kind of rhetoric with casual fans because they don't know any better.
When he says, you know, black fighters fighting this, like, what particular style is he talking about when he said, like, is there like a generalized black style? I mean, I know a lot of times when they say the phrase Mexican style, you know, a lot of people have a certain idea, a certain style that comes to their head. So is there like a black style? Is he basically saying guys that are slick, guys that move around?
I think that's what he's implying, but it's an ignorant comment. You know, I think if you look at the history of African American fighters, I think they can do it all. I think they can do it all. I mean, if you look at a fighter that Abel Sanchez trained, and really, in my opinion, made his name off of, which is the Norris family, Terry and Orland Norris. And I don't know if he trained Orland, but I know he trained Terry because I've heard him mention that name several times. And outside of Gennady Golovkin, that's the biggest name that he's worked with. And he's worked with other champions and other fighters, but Terry's a perfect example of a fighter who could definitely box and had the ability and skill to make a guy miss, but Terry loved to fight. And in some cases, I think Terry Norris may have fought too much in his career. And unfortunately, you know, he's dealing with some issues right now. And I only bring that up because he's talked about that openly and publicly. But that's the flip side to this take two punches and give one style. Like, there is life after boxing. And at the end of the day, you know, the fighters that Abel Sanchez has had the opportunity to work with, a lot of them, if not all of them, have walked in his gym. I don't know, and I could be wrong, but I don't know if he started any fighters from scratch, from the ground up. But when you start a fighter from the ground up, like my coach, Virgil, like it's a different feeling when that guy goes in the ring. You know, it's a different responsibility. And the responsibility of a coach, first and foremost, is to get his fighter home safe to his family. The second thing on the list is obviously to win. And the third thing is to please the fans and please everybody else who may have some type of investment in the sport. But the number one responsibility is to get that fighter home safe to his family if you're a responsible coach. But maybe it's a different thing if you haven't started a guy from scratch and you're a hired hand. You may not have those kind of feelings and emotion. But the thing is like, I was never taught that. I was always taught about having longevity in the sport. I was always taught to hit a fighter and make a fighter miss. And if they hit you, they got to earn it. You know, we're not going to give them anything easy. And if you look at my style and my career, I was not averse to fighting. I had no problem. I rumble with the best of them. But I think what the issue here is Golovkin has one style. He's one-dimensional. And what he does it extremely well. But this is the bait that, you know, Abel is trying to put out there at least at that time when that fight was still on the table, that was the bait to try to get Canelo to try to stand and fight, because that was Golovkin's best opportunity. Because when Canelo boxed, he had success.
Well,
so, and the thing is this, like, for the young fighters, and not just African American fighters, but just fighters in general that I talk to and have the opportunity to mentor, like, no, use your God-given ability. We're not going to dumb our style down. You're not going to dumb your style down to try to fit some kind of mold. You know, we're not going to do that. And what we're also not going to do is feel as if we got to be villains in order to sell tickets. Because if I got to come out of character, and if I got to act a certain way, and do things that, you know, won't show good on my character and on my family and different things like that, just to get you to punch in a pay-per-view or just to get you to buy a ticket, if being myself is not worth the price of admission, then that's probably a ticket that I'm not with, that, you know, I really don't need you to buy. Because at the end of the day, Ben, whatever we build in our careers, whether positive or negative, we got to live with that when we leave this sport. So if you build some type of character and some type of monster, and you have some type of, you know, alter ego, and this is who I am when I'm fighting, and it's hard to turn that switch off, number one. And number two, the reality of it is that's who people know you as. They don't know you as the individual. So, and some guys, you know, black, white, or whatever, they're just the villains, and that's who it is. And you know, hey, if that's how that guy wants to live his life and build his career, that's his business. But I see a lot of fighters now, they're on the fence about how should I present myself, you know, and they won't accept me if I'm this way. And I tell people, man, go against the grain, man, be yourself, and represent your family and represent this sport the way you're supposed to, and let the chips fall where they may fall.
Just being a student of the game, you know, the sweet science, the art of hitting and not getting hit, is it a bad thing to actually promote, you know, what they're calling Mexican style, that come forward, you know, take two to give one type of style? Is that a bad thing for fighters to actually adhere to that Abel Sanchez is putting out there?
No, I will say this, like, I have a certain affinity for a guy who, it's clear he doesn't have, you know, Floyd Mayweather-esque type of skill or anything close to it, and he has to get it a certain way. Look, man, I got to take two punches to give one. I respect that. I respect that. I honor that. You know, everybody's not the same. But the issue is when you try to call out a whole race and make a blanket statement as if to say, like, you know, nobody of this race is worth going to watch, and, you know, they all fight the same. Like, listen, man, if you love boxing, and I've said this before, if you love the sport, if you truly love the sport, you love it all. I love the banger. I love, you know, the boxer. I love the boxer puncher. Like, I love it all, man. And you know, this narrative of, you know, a certain style is being born, like, to me, this is something that's just come around in the last 15, 20 years, because I didn't hear a lot of this stuff when I watched older fights. You know, I remember seeing guys like Salvador Sanchez, who sometimes wouldn't throw a punch for a whole round because he was jockeying for position, and Salvador was fighting 12 and 15 rounds, but he was a monster. He would set up his shots, and a lot of times he would get guys out of there with one shot. Like, you know, as a fighter, get it how you got to get it, but don't call out a certain race or don't call out a certain style just because you feel like you can't deal with that kind of style. Teach your fighter to deal with that kind of style. Don't get mad about it. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Do you feel? I know you mentioned this earlier. The word appropriation. Do you feel like that's what they made a conscious decision to do in order to promote their guy?
Yeah, of course. And listen, it worked. It worked. You know, hats off to Tom Loeffler. I think he's doing a tremendous job with Golovkin. You know? But that's a fact. Yeah, he immersed himself in the culture. He lives in L.A., and they had enough foresight to understand that, hey, it's not going to work by just saying that he's, you know, from the country he's from. Like, we need to try to immerse ourselves in this culture and hope it works, and it works for him. And that's a beautiful thing. But just because it works for you don't put your mouth on other people, and more specifically, don't put your mouth on another race, because, you know, it's real. It's a real contradiction, man, when, you know, one of his biggest sponsors is also a sponsor of mine. You know, Jordan brand. And the face of that brand that he's wearing is Michael Jordan, who's obviously an African-American man. The president of Jordan brand is African-American, Larry Miller. And the vice president is also African-American, Howard H. White. So you just got to be real careful sometimes when you open your mouth and you say certain things. You got to think it through. And I think sometimes, you know, right now Abel's having a good run, and I think sometimes you know, he's on his high horse, and I think that I feel as if you know, he's just got this pride and this arrogance, and he feels like, you know, he can say whatever he wants to say. And, you know, at the end of the day, Abel Sanchez is not the voice of boxing. Abel Sanchez is not the voice of this generation. And Abel Sanchez is certainly not the voice for African-American fighters. So, you know, I think Abel Sanchez just needs to stay in his lane, train your fighter or your fighters, whoever you're working with, and, you know, just keep race out of it. You know, nobody else is really talking about race. Nobody else is calling out any other race. They're not. So I don't even know why that needs to come into place. You know, keep it about boxing, or keep it about your opponent. But, like, you know, you're going too far when you bring up race. And obviously race is a hot topic in this country right now, and really it's always been. And I think it's dangerous, man, and it's reckless to try to intertwine race and call somebody out like that. It was really, you know, surprising to me and really disappointing is that I've seen a lot of writers out there who will dig high and low for the scoop and will dig high and low for a story, you know, about some dirt or maybe something that a fighter did. But I didn't see anybody write about what was said at that press conference, and there was a lot of writers there. And I didn't see anybody write about it, refute it, say that it was wrong. And, you know, hey, that's probably the most disappointing thing to me, because I've seen a lot of the same writers write about things that are frivolous and really just, you know, just not even worth anything in terms of just trying to find some dirt on somebody or figure out what a guy did wrong, or want to be the first to be cited for figuring something out. But yet here's a story right here, and nobody chose to write about it or speak about it.
They sure are quick to put those fighters' purses out there, though, ain't they?
Yeah, and you know, that's something I don't like either, man. That causes a whole lot of riffraff behind the scenes, but, you know, it's part of the game, man. It's part of the game. It's
crazy. Yo, wow, that was a good answer to my initial question. Obviously, he's fighting tonight. Golovkin's he's going to be fighting tonight. I don't know if we're going to get this up before the fight, so I won't ask you for a prediction or how you think that's going to go or anything. But I will ask you, just because you know, Abel has kind of been out of control. I mean, you know, the whole Canelo PED situation. He said a lot of crazy things about Canelo. You know, even Golovkin, I feel like, is a little out of character. Or maybe that is his character, and we've just never seen it. You know, he really kind of went in on Canelo, and there's been a lot of back and forth. You know, obviously they made a commercial about it, joking about it. Do you think, assuming that, you know, he does get past Vanes, which I think he will, do you think that Canelo fight is gonna happen, or do you think, because at the end of the day, Canelo is still the A side in the situation, so do you think maybe he's been insulted to a point where he might not want to do business with Golovkin?
It's tough to say. That's the beautiful thing about the fight game. You get a chance to fight. So if you got a problem with somebody, you not only get to face off and figure it out inside that boxing ring, but you get a king's ransom to do it. So I hope the fight can be made. It's unfortunate what happened. I don't know the details in terms of, you know, I know people have opinions on Canelo, and rightfully so. You know, when these things happen, that's what you open yourself up to. So it's hard to say if the fight is going to be made. Again, I hope it is. And I wish both guys nothing but the best, man. I think the rematch would have been good to kind of put some of, the talk back and forth about who won the first fight to rest. I had that opportunity with Kovalev, and there's nothing like getting in the boxing ring, man, as a fighter and just having an opportunity, man, to have the last say. So I hope both fighters get that opportunity, and, hopefully tonight is a good fight as well. Again, man, I don't appreciate the comments that, Abel made about Vanez. He'll never be the same, and that's just the stuff that I'm talking about. Like, it's certain boundaries and lines that are set up. And I feel like when you start talking like that, you're going too far. Like no fighter should want to permanently injure any other fighter. Like, Vanez has a family. He's got kids, and I don't know if they'll be at the fight, but that's beside the point. The point is like when you start saying things like he says, man, it's just reckless, bro, and it's not okay. Like you shouldn't be able to say things like that. And Golovkin's team, man, they set up this kind of this system where they've insulated him. And they just allow him to smile and wave and be a good boy while, Abel and Tom Loeffler say all sorts of reckless and disparaging things about fighters and races, other races. And, it's just not cool, man. It's not authentic and it's not right. So, in terms of Golovkin's career and what's next for him, man, I wish him nothing but the best. This isn't even really about Golovkin. This is about the comments that his team said. And some people would say, well, Golovkin, he didn't say it, and you're right. But as fighters, we're the CEOs of our business. We are the entity. We are the business, and we're responsible for what comes out of our camp, whether positive or negative. So, I feel like this is something that needs to be dealt with.
Just out of curiosity, do you think? Well, I don't know. I don't even know if you can really answer this, but you just said fighters are the CEOs of your company, basically. So, do you think that's the case over there, or with any other fight? Like, do you think there's a situation where maybe the fighters aren't making their own decisions; they're being told what to do?
Wait, over where?
Whether it's over with Golovkin or whether there's any other fighters that are out there where they're not kind of in control of their careers, where someone else. And the only reason why I ask is just because the whole Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua negotiations are going on. It seems to me like both the fighters want to make the fight, but they can't. And I don't really want to make this about Joshua and Deontay, but I'm just talking like as a whole in general in boxing. Do you see scenarios where fighters are not the CEOs of their company?
For sure. That's that type of thing happening and that type of structure being set up within a guy's camp it's as old as the sport itself. But I certainly can't speak about Golovkin or Wilder or Joshua in terms of what their structure is. I would definitely be speaking out of turn because I just don't know. I don't know how their structure's set up. And to be honest with me, it's really none of my business. So I just wish everybody the best. And I hope that both of those fights can be made because it's a great shot in the arm for the sport. And I think both fights, between Golovkin and Canelo and Wilder and Joshua, I think they should be made if they can be made.